Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace, and her own soul fire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soul fire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. So if this is your first time listening, I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, Reiki master, and a life coach. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding clients through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. So today, before we get started, I want to talk about a topic that's, really related to what I do in my coaching. I want to talk a little bit about what life coaching is. Because I had a client who came to me, they were having trouble making decisions. They felt stuck. This week I had that client, and at the end of the session, I asked them how they thought it went. And she said, well, it went okay, but I was actually hoping you would, help me make this decision or tell me what I should do. And I said, well, I hope that, that you got some insight into that, but it's actually not my job or something that I could do, telling you what you should do, because I actually don't know. I do not know what you should do. The reason for that is because I am not you. I could tell you what I would do, but that might not be the right thing for you. Or I could tell you from my set of values and life experience what I think you should do. But again, that might not be right for you. And one thing that I have found, especially about coaching, a lot of the clients that come to me are stuck or in a position where they are having trouble making decisions. And one of the most common reasons for that, not the only reason, there's quite a few, is that they're out of alignment or out of balance with their core self. And I had a client who came to me with that same request as this client. And before the session started, she signed up for 3 sessions. And what she actually came to me for is she told me that she wanted to connect more with her spirit, that she had always been intuitive and spiritual, and she felt like she was disconnected with that because she was having trouble making life decisions. And I said, okay, yeah, I think I can help with that. So she came to the first session and she told me what was going on in her life. And it was actually problems in her marriage, and she was having an affair. And she couldn't decide whether to stay with her husband or to go with this new person. And I talked with her about her background a little bit. And so then I said, well, I think that you're out of alignment with yourself. And that's why you're not connecting with spirit. And we talked about that a little more. And she said, yeah, that could be it. And so I sent her with some homework, quiz and some articles. And she she gave me the feedback that, yeah, she thought that might be it. And she'd already told me that she'd been to a marriage counselor for 6 months, and that hadn't helped at all. So anyway, she never came back for another session, even though she had paid for them. Some things happened in her life. Her mother passed away and that, but she kept emailing me, asking me questions. So she finally did resolve her issue. And at the end of it, she asked me 3 questions. She said, "How did you know in one session that I was out of alignment?" And I said, "Well, it's really pretty simple. You told me." And then she said, "Did you know what decision I would make?" Because she did decide to stay with her husband. And I said, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Is that what you would have told me to do?" And I said, "No, I would have never presumed to tell you what to do." And she said, "Okay." But that is really what life coaching is. It's not me telling you what you should do. It's you discovering what you should do or what is right for you in your life. So I'm really excited to get to today's show. My guest is Tracy Warren, and Tracy is the owner of InSpark Co-working. She's a social media expert, a community creator, a speaker, and an author. She teaches business owners how to grow their business through building community with, ease and fun, but yet still effective. She's a truth teller, and a connection queen. She's a bold example of how authenticity and vulnerability can be a huge asset for entrepreneurs who want to build their business by creating community. Whatever trail she blazes, she is fully herself, including her recent victory over breast cancer. She shows up fully as herself. So I originally met Tracy up in the Seattle area at networking events, not just one, but Tracy was involved in all of them. So I'm excited to introduce her now. Hi, Gracie. How are you?
Hello. I am fantastic. I have to say, I love the way you talk about yourself in the beginning. It gave me all sorts of warm fuzzies. The tips and tricks and triumphs. I'm like, oh, I'm in for all of that. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. So to get started, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and, what brought you to your current path?
Sure. It's been an interesting journey. Before I started a co-working space, I used to run a social media marketing company. And it was years ago, I was at an event and we had to talk to someone we didn't know about what we desire. And we had to do this for 5 minutes and they weren't allowed to speak. And it was the first time I said out loud, I desire to open a co-working space and I desire to not manage Facebook pages anymore. And as soon as I said it out loud, my initial response was, oh crap. Like, what did I just say? I know how powerful my voice is, and came home and started doing research and looking at properties. And the short story is we opened 10 months later, and we've been open for 4.5 years. But again, a couple years ago, a friend said to me, what if InSpark is just your side hustle? And there's something more to getting back to your roots in social media. Now, I don't want to manage Facebook pages for people, but I do know how to teach them how to build ease and joy into their marketing. That, those are words that don't normally go together. And so that's where I am right now.
Yeah, I actually remember that. I remember when you posted about your big epiphany of, so yeah, it's been a journey.
For sure.
So I know the chaos and the uncertainty of the pandemic has been, really system shocking for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
What has it been like for you specifically with the circumstances? You not only were going through the pandemic, but you were going through your battle with breast cancer.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do feel like I got a nice little double whammy, and it was almost like it was perfectly timed, if that makes sense, because I started chemotherapy in December of 2019. And so when the shutdown happened, that was right as I was getting toward the end of my chemotherapy, which is when I felt the worst. And so it was almost like the timing was perfect. It gave me built-in time to where no one was expecting me to show up anywhere. This has been a really challenging, interesting, creative time. I mean, there's so many adjectives to describe what this has been like, but here we are 18 months in basically, and no necessary end in sight. And yet there's still so much good and creativity. And I don't love the word pivot, but shifting in people's businesses, that's really exciting. Like, one of the things that I love being an entrepreneur, and I love entrepreneurs. So when people say, hey, I have this business idea, and they start telling me, I want to know more. I want to see if I can make a connection for them. And so I've seen a lot of innovation in the last year and a half that gives me so much hope for the future.
Yes. Yes. So what motivated you other than, having that idea? What, why co-working?
Well, for me, it was about, one, I was meeting people at coffee shops all the time, which is fine. It's a great place to meet. But what running my business from home looked like was I was working from the minute I got up until the minute I went to bed. And so I needed a space where I could set up shop, where I could meet people, where I could have creative conversations outside of my home. And so that was really the other impetus. It was years ago, I walked into a co-working space in Seattle, and I remember it distinctly because I walked in and I could feel energy, right? And that, I think, is what planted the seed. Like, I wanted that, but there wasn't anything like that around where I lived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you just published like
I did.
Yeah, and released your book. That's
I did.
awesome. So what is your book about, and why did you write it?
My book is called Ignite Your Champions, Build Your Business by Creating Connection and Community. And part of it is this community creation. It all comes really natural to me. Like, making personal phone calls or subscribing to someone's YouTube channel and commenting on a video, that's just part of what I do and who I am. And I also know that having a community makes running your business easier because it allows you certain freedoms. It allows you to ask for help when you need it. It makes it so you're really not in it by yourself, even when you are, right?
Mhm.
And so it was my way of capturing my process and how I create community, because I believe community changes the world. And if people have some tools, some ideas for how to do that, it's going to move the needle for all of us.
Yeah. So tell us the secret. Tell us what is the first step to take to building a community.
Honestly, I think the first step is identifying who your people are. I mean, I call them champions, but
Mhm.
taking time to say, okay, who are the people in my life that, one, they already love me, or two, I want them to be a cheerleader for me. And then creating a plan around how to stay in touch with those people. I mean, that's the first, because social media is noisy. I mean, the world is noisy, but I can't listen to everyone I'm connected to. But if I can identify a handful, 15, 20, 50 champions, then I can dedicate time to them, whether that's reaching out or listening to.
Yes, great. So, how do you identify those champions? How do you know who's going to be?
Well, for me, it changes, right? So I have champions that have been champions in the past and maybe aren't anymore, but I have a list of questions that I ask, or that I ask when I'm speaking, like, who are those people who are already your raving fans? Like, they share about your stuff before you even ask them to. Or who are those people you love to run into at networking events? Who are power partners for you? Like, who does someone hire right before or right after you? So if you're a real estate agent, maybe that's a mortgage broker and a home inspector, right? So finding those people and then building a touch point plan to reach out to them. But I do have a spreadsheet where I sort of keep track of these people. But there are so many simple things that I can do every day to let other people know I'm thinking about them that doesn't take very much time, but it can really mean the world, especially right now, because a lot more people are more isolated or lonely or depressed, honestly.
Yeah, it's been a long 18 months, and a lot of people are realizing that, yeah, it isn't over.
Mm-mm.
So, what is the simple action that business owners can take today to engage champions?
Honestly, the simplest thing you can do is something you're probably doing already, which is going to Facebook and commenting on their content. It is the easiest way for you to acknowledge them. And I'm not talking about clicking the like button, I'm talking about writing a comment. It's the simplest way to engage. It also, I mean, it's a win win because you're boosting their post and their people get to see your name. And And I have to be clear that when it comes to taking these actions, it has to be done with a pure motive. Because if you're just commenting like, I'm so great, I'm going to go comment on all that, that's going to be obvious as well.
Yeah.
But when you're doing it for building community, even if it's just cheering someone on, like, or to say, I feel like some of the most powerful words right now are, I hear you, I see you, because there's a lot of argument for argument's sake. And so there's a lot of people out there who just don't feel heard.
Yeah. That and good job. Well said. I agree.
Yes. You're not the only one. I feel like that's so powerful, is you're not alone.
Yes.
Like we're kind of in this, a lot of us are in this together. Yeah, you're not alone.
So you refer to hustle hamster wheel. What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so I do refer to the hustle hamster wheel, and there's a lot of business owners, mostly women, who I see struggle in their businesses because they're trying to do everything all the time. So they're going to every networking event. Anyone who ever asks them to coffee, they go to coffee. They have profiles on every single social media platform and try to post there every day. Like it is a uphill battle. And I'm very familiar with this battle because it's how I ran my business for a really long time. Like, of course, I have to do everything. I have to be everywhere. People need to be able to see me. And when I step back and can measure, like I can test, measure, adjust, and test some more. To me, marketing is all an experiment. And I love that I can play and try new things. And, yes, I try to be a little bit more selective in who I have coffee with and how often. I think that's the other thing, is it got very easy for me to I'll have 5 coffee dates in a week. And then I wonder why I'm not getting any work done. Well, yeah, because I'm driving to and from. I will say that's been a huge benefit of the pandemic, is cutting drive time out of my calendar.
Virtual. Yeah, virtual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. When I, even though my background is in sales and marketing, when I started doing this and going to those events where people tell you how to do things, I went to an event and somebody said that you had to go, and I don't even remember what the number was anymore. So many networking events every week. And I didn't know better, so I tried to do it. First of all, I found out it was just like totally impossible. But eventually it was like I was doing so much networking that I didn't have any time to follow up or,
Right.
It just.
I remember there's a gal here who used to run a networking group, and I just flat told her, look, I don't come to your events because there's so much people overlap in the events I already am going to. So I love you and I love what you're doing. And, something's got to give.
Yeah, that's eventually I figured that out, that I had to prioritize my time better and be more selective. So.
And that can be really hard.
Yeah, because I never had this before I started doing the coaching and going to all the events, that what they call it, the fear of missing out.
Right.
So you talk a lot about curiosity. How does that play into creating community?
So it's really the difference between saying, hey, I'm a life coach, and if you ever need help getting your life together, then come talk to me. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you started the show today, you created curiosity by telling 2 client stories. So if someone listening were to hear that, they could go, huh, I really relate to that story Kate told. I wonder if she can help me. So it's just a shift in the way
You present it. Yeah.
in the way you present it. It doesn't always have to be hire me, look at me. It can be asking simple questions or posing, sharing stories that get people to think, oh, that could be me she's talking about, without you saying, I'm talking to you.
Yes. And this isn't from my coaching background, although it could be because it's an overlap. It's actually from my sales background. One of the most important things isn't telling people about what it is you're selling. It's asking them questions about what it is that they're doing.
Yes. Oh, it's just, and that stands out so much in a marketplace where there are a lot of people just selling. Yeah. You ask me questions. Asking me questions is the way to my heart, honestly.
Well, it's also the way, if you're just thinking pragmatically, it's the way to a sale. Because if you don't know anything about that person, you can't possibly know that they need your product.
Exactly. Love that.
So, what is one way people can simplify their social media content creation?
Oh, one of my favorite ways is by using templates. So instead of, okay, I have a graphic, I'm going to add some words to it and I'm going to post it today. Well, take that graphic and use it over and over. Just change out the words. Now, you need multiple templates, but that's one really simple way. Another really simple way is think about something like a Vogue magazine. Okay, I don't read Vogue magazine, but it's an example that every December, they don't sit around a conference room table and go, what are we going to talk about in our February issue? No, they basically regurgitate the same issue every February. It's how to find the love of your life or lose 10 pounds in the first 10 days of February or whatever. And I think a simple thing that as business owners we can do is look at those cycles in our own businesses, and then we can do the same thing with our content. Like, great, every February, if I want to talk about romance, I would not do that, but I can do that. It's just going to look differently. So making themes every month, it's just two really simple templates, and themes are two really simple things that people can do.
Yes. And I definitely have found that with my podcasting.
Nice.
So, what plans do you have, or what do you envision is next for you or your community, the new community that you've created?
So what's next? I'm going to launch a podcast. That's something that's coming up. And it really is helpful that I'm married to an audio engineer. So that makes podcast creation easier. But in addition, something I'm really excited about is a group program that it's not even a group program. It's a ongoing group coaching, consulting thing. Wow, I'm really doing a good job of describing it. But
who's it for? Is it for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's for female entrepreneurs who, want a place to ask their questions, want a place to talk about content ideas, those kinds of things. So it will be a way to go through my book. And I talk about the FIRE framework, which is foundation, ignition, relationships and engagement. And so this group program, that's what we'll go through. So it, if you want to DIY this, you read the book. If you want to go slowly, you join the group. And if you want to go fast, then we can work together privately. And I'm really excited for how this can support women in business. But my long-term goal is, when I started InSpark, I had 2 friends who not just believed in me, but believed in me by investing in my business with money. And it's such a beautiful gift. And I want to support other women entrepreneurs by being able to do the same thing.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit off topic question, but I've been asking everybody for a while. So what has surprised you most about life so far?
I think what has surprised me most is just how utterly amazing people are. And when they come together, and I think part of the impetus for me writing this book was cancer, right? And how people showed up for me. And they'll show up for you too, not just you, Kate, but other listeners. Like, it's amazing what people will do when you ask for help. And I think as strong women, sometimes we need to be reminded that there are people out there that will help. We just have to ask.
Yes, I think as strong women, we have to actually learn how to do that, because it is really hard.
Yeah, it absolutely is hard. But I would rather learn to ask. If I had it to do over again, I would rather learn to ask when the stakes aren't really high.
Well, you sometimes don't learn until you're put in that position.
That's true too. That is true too.
So we're getting close to the end of our time. If listeners, if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
One thought. Find your people, whoever they are, your community, your squad, your girl gang, and love them with everything you have. And it will all come back.
Yes, that is good advice. I'm right now navigating the process of that, between, moving from the Northwest and having so many connections up there that I don't want to lose, but needing to, build community in this new area too, which turns out to be a really different community.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so if people want to get in touch with you or find out more about the book, the new group, the InSpark, or any of the things that you do, what is the best way to do that?
I am pretty easy to find on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm Ignite Your Champions with an S.
Okay.
But you can always find me there.
Okay. So that's pretty easy to remember. But if you do happen to forget it, you can go to the radio website, and that's soulfireradio.com. Click on guests and scroll down to Tracy's name, and you'll find that info there. Plus, I think a couple other ways to get in touch with her. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here. I know that there is a lot of interest from entrepreneurs in building community, but there's a lot of other reasons why people want to do that these days.
Absolutely.
So it's pretty valuable information.
Yeah. Thanks so much for asking me to be here, Kate. I really appreciate it.
So I do have a little quote for the audience to carry with them through your week. That is, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. And that's by Helen Keller. So a very wise lady.
Yeah. Love that.
So thanks again, Tracy. And we have a great show planned for next week. Next week, my guest will be Dr. Richard Nongard, and we'll be talking about a subject that's really close to my heart, and that is hypnosis. Dr. Nongard is kind of an expert in all things hypnosis. And, you know, if you had any curiosity about it, we'll be talking about it from several different angles next week. So be sure to tune in for that. I do want to let people know that next week will be the last official show of Soulfire Wisdom. And then the following week, October 11th, will be the final show of Soulfire Wisdom. And I'll be having a guest host. The wonderful Terry Britt will be stepping in as host, and she will be interviewing me on my new book that's coming out, on why I'm ending Soulfire Wisdom and what I'm doing next. So, you know, if you're curious about that, tune in for that show as well. So thanks again, Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soulfire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.